Dear Baron Alderdice, my name is Dr. Matthew Doré and I'm a palliative care consultant from Northern Ireland. I have spent decades at the bedside caring for our most vulnerable citizens as they approach the end of their lives. I know the volume of correspondence you must receive is immense, and I am grateful for your time. Therefore, I'm hoping you can spare 2 to 3 minutes listening to this plea. A plea about rejecting the assisted dying legislation. I'm aware of your long and distinguished career, particularly your honorary fellowship of the Royal College of Psychiatrists. You, perhaps more than many in the Lords, understand the profound complexities of the human mind, especially when it is under immense strain of a life-limiting diagnosis. It is from this psychological perspective that I feel compelled to share my deep concerns about the assisted dying bill in front of you now. I recognize the powerful, compassionate impulse behind it. The desire to alleviate suffering is a fundamental part of our humanity. However, I believe this legislation, however well-intentioned, is built on a foundation that cannot hold against the psychological pressures it will unleash. The bill's eligibility criteria are merely a series of tick boxes, a clinical and legal checklist. It requires no robust, independent psychiatric evaluation of the patient to explore what is behind the patient's request. The panel with the psychiatrist on it neither sees the patient nor assesses the rationale, simply checks the boxes have been ticked. As you know, a diagnosis of terminal illness is profoundly traumatic and is frequently accompanied by reactive depression, anxiety, a distorted sense of self-worth, and in this vulnerable state, a request for death is very often a cry of despair, not a genuine autonomous wish to die. All of my patients as a palliative care consultant in Northern Ireland sit within the circle of this bill's eligibility. I can tell you from my daily experience that many would feel they are a burden on their families and friends, financially, physically, emotionally. Many internalize the sense that society no longer has a place for them. Then this is not a free choice. It is a choice made under immense, often unspoken duress. How often do we hear our elderly say, I don't want to be a nuisance? This bill risks turning that heartbreaking sentiment into a qualifying criterion for state-funded lethal medication. The proposed safeguards, which are criteria, do not currently address this. I personally cannot see how you can legislate for this internalized pressure, but that is the challenge in front of you. Is suicide ever rational? If it sometimes is, I'm not sure about that, but even if it is, how do you differentiate? How many incorrect deaths are acceptable? As Dr. Henry Marsh, a British neurosurgeon and well-known proponent of assisted dying, said, and I'm going to quote, "They argue that grannies will be made to commit suicide. Even if a few grannies get bullied into it, isn't that the price worth paying for all the people who could die with dignity?" What's your cost, Baron Alderdice? Furthermore, the bill's silence on the requirement of suffering is deafening. It offers a lethal medication prescription without first requiring that all efforts to alleviate suffering have been exhausted. Often people say there's risks on both sides, but please look closely at those claims of bad deaths. Get the exact details. As my experience would state, these claims are unfortunately often grossly exaggerated, both in severity and frequency, and are often being used as propaganda to promote assisted dying. Not impossible, but certainly not even remotely a common experience. It is completely disproportionate. This legislation would send a dangerous cultural message that under certain circumstances, some lives are less worth living. It moves us from a society founded on the principle of intrinsic, inherent human worth to one where value becomes circumstantial. Baron Alderdice, your unique experience is crucial in this debate. I implore you to use your voice to ask the difficult psychological questions. Please challenge the House to look beyond the tick box safeguards and see the profound risks this bill poses to the mentally vulnerable, the elderly and the disabled. Maximum freedom for all should be for all people, the liberal value. Thank you for your time and really your considered reflection. Thank you.